Alcatraz Island, sometimes called Alcatraz or the Rock, is a small island in the middle of San Francisco Bay in California, United States. The island was once home to a lighthouse, a military fort, and a military prison until 1963. After that, Alcatraz Island became a tourist attraction. Today, Alcatraz Island is a designated historic site by the National Park Service as part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area and is open to visitors. Visitors can visit it by ferry from Pier 33 near Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. The island was also designated a National Historic Landmark in 1986. The island's name was given in 1775 when Spanish explorer Juan Manuel de Ayala surveyed San Francisco Bay and named it La Isla de los Alcatraz, which means Pegman Island because of its size. The island is uninhabitable due to the currents, the lack of vegetation, and the arid land. Because the island is naturally isolated in the middle of a bay, surrounded by freezing waters and strong winds, Alcatraz Island it was considered for use as a prison. In 1861, the island was used to hold prisoners from the Civil War, and in the aftermath of the Spanish-American War in 1898, the number of prisoners increased from 26 to 450. Then, in 1906, the San Francisco earthquake, which severely damaged the city, moved the prisoners to the island for safety. In 1912, a large prison was built in the center of the island, and by the end of the 1920s, the three-story building was completed. Alcatraz Island was used by the United States military for over 80 years, from 1850 until 1933. The island was then transferred to the Department of Justice for use as a prison. The government used it as a maximum security penitentiary with no special privileges to handle the prisoners. And it shows the efficiency of the law that the government wanted to reduce the crime that was abundant. In the 1920s and 1930s, Alcatraz Island was not America's island of evil as it was portrayed in books and movies. The average number of prisoners was about 260 to 275. This number did not reach the maximum capacity of 336, which is less than 1% of the prison population nationwide. Many prisoners were sentenced to life and had better living conditions than other prisoners, for example, one prisoner per cell. Many prisoners asked to be transferred to Alcatraz Island. The island was used as the main location for the story of the film series Resident Evil, Death Island. Alcatraz is located in the middle of the sea. In 1934, it was built as a prison for prisoners. The government saw that even if someone escaped their cell, they could not leave the island because there were not many ports and ships were not always on duty. Therefore, if you want to feel freedom, you have to swim into the sea, brave the currents, and risk being eaten by sharks. This makes the island look like a very suitable place to confine notorious criminals. Alcatraz Prison is a prison where star criminals are gathered. Al Capone, the notorious mafia godfather, was imprisoned here, including the top criminals in America, all ended up on the Rock. Even though it is on an island in the middle of the ocean, there are still prisoners who want to try their luck and escape. According to statistics, there were a total of 14 prisoners who attempted to escape from prison during the 29 years between 1934 to 1963 that it was open as a prison before it was closed to reduce the budget burden. 23 prisoners were arrested, 6 criminals were shot dead while escaping, 2 drowned, and 2 prisoners were captured and sent to San Quentin prison to be executed. However, in the history of Alcatraz, there are 3 prisoners who successfully escaped from the authorities. More importantly, no one has ever officially met these 3 prisoners. Therefore, no one knows if they survived or died, leaving only stories to tell up until the present.